Okay. Kalau boleh make slide full screen, dan kita boleh start. Alright. Good evening, everyone. To the from the top. Good evening to the madam and everyone else. Today, me and my group will be presenting about lifting works and the many dangers that has posed to workers, especially in lifting works in heights. Heights and usually involves cranes. So we're going to move on to the introduction of UM Builders Berhad.
Introduction of UM Builders Berhad. UM Builders Berhad is the engineering and construction arm of the UM Group. It is an international construction company with a strong track record in delivering infrastructure development projects. UM Builders is acknowledged as one of Malaysia's prominent players within the construction industry and has a diversified portfolio of business in engineering and construction service. And a project that is developed by UEM Builders Berhad is amongst bridges, highway, railways, airports, tunneling, and including buildings.
So my name is Sean and I'm going to present organization chart and number of workers. So as usual, we have chairman, managing director, followed by chief financial officer and chief sales and marketing. So below it has head strategy and transformation, chief digital transformation. So it will be followed by the heads of plan, audit, procurement, ICT, and transportation and distribution, health, safety, security and environment, technical support operation, technical and reliability. Next. So as for the activity and overall work process, we have 5 parts. So the first one is concept and design, followed by building and permit, clearing and excavating the land including foundation, electrical, plumbing and roof, and the finishing. So for the electrical, plumbing and roof, it will construct by a specialty contractor that completes rough electrical and install the plumbing and wires. So the roofers will complete the roof of the building. So the next will be passed to the contractors that will complete the exterior of the building and protecting the interior work to the place. So I'll pass to the next presenter.
Okay, my name is Siti Hikmah. So the objective of this overall report is to identify safety and health hazard at the workplace and discuss the method used to identify each of the hazard. Number 2 is to assess the risk of all identified safety and health hazard, to prioritize and rank the safety and health hazard based on their risk rating and discover the most critical safety and health hazard. The next objective is to recommend the control measure to eliminate or reduce the risk of the hazard. And the lastly is to suggest recommendation of review program on control measure to establish the effectiveness of managing safety and health at the workplace. Next presenter. Ravin, take over.
Oh, sorry, I forgot that. Thank you very much, Shara. For methods, for identifying hazard in the workplace, first we have to conduct a survey around the workplace. Usually the survey is done for both the employer and the employee. So we have both idea what is happening at the workplace. Second method that we used was conducting observation in the workplace area. So usually identification of hazards, going over through past reports of accidents and whatnot. And last but not least, we also use, as mentioned before, accident reports to compare with current reports. So basically, we compare the past incidents to current incidents, seeing if overall safety is improved or not, and see what changes must be done. So more further on that, we do a risk assessment. So once we're done finding hazard, once we're done finding all the hazard in the workplace, we do a risk evaluation and a risk assessment. So risk evaluation is to gauge the overall risk a certain hazard posed on the worker. And then once we've done that, we do a risk assessment to come up with various ways to control those risks, in order to develop a risk control method. So next, yes. So this is a risk matrix. A risk matrix is used in risk assessments in order to gauge how catastrophic or how bad the actual hazard is. So we use the calculation through likelihood. So how likelihood the hazard is, hazard to occur. How likely the risk to occur, while also seeing how bad the the outcome of the risk. So usually go through those calculating methods. If it's over 8 and above, it's a high risk, medium to high risk hazards. As you can see, if you can see the next on the slide for the risk metrics. So now I'm going to pass on to the next presenter.
So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Nujila binti Usman, and I'm going to continue our presentation with the result and discussion about the final assignment that we have been conducting. So first and foremost, we have an unloading material while installing the roof. That is the highest risk in safety hazard that we have been able to identify for the whole assignment. So this hazard basically is the most critical and medium risk for safety hazard. And then the worker is basically exposed to pinch point or moving part of the machine while they're working, and then the PPE is not enough to protect them while they're working at the construction site. And then this hazard also can cause permanent disability, severe injury, and also property damage to the company. And for the health hazard, the most higher risk that we have been able to identify is while worker is lifting heavy load manually in open space. Basically, it's all about the heat stroke, and the worker is exposed to the level of heat which is quite high during their working time. So this hazard is in medium risk, and it is the most critical for the health hazard. And then this hazard can cause fatigue by working, heat stroke, and pain, even though the worker is wearing a PPE. Then the last one for this hazard is it can cause the operation at the work site is quite delayed due to the occurrence of this hazard at the work site. And then the impact of both of the hazards towards the company. First of all, the UEM Wilder Berhad must pay an additional cost, which is they have to pay a compensation towards their worker and any other additional cost that they has to bear. And then It can directly affect their production time. When the accident happened at the workplace, definitely the operation will be delayed for the long duration of time. And then the investigator and other third party investor, the investor and other third party might be hesitating to join the next project for this company. Then the UEM company will lose their credibility and opportunity in the future, and then the market of the company will be decreased immediately. Next. This is the picture that I have mentioned before. The picture is a hazard for the most highest risk for safety hazard, and the B picture is for health hazard. Next.
Okay, so for the first work activity, hazard is from the work activity unloading material. So the hazard that I identify is exposed to moving part, which can cause workers can be trapped or drowned in by moving part. Sharp edges can cause cut and severe injuries. Sharp pointed parts can cause stabbing or puncture to the skin, and rough surface parts can cause friction or abrasion. This also can cause the permanent disability by getting crushed and shearing between parts moving towards, such as belt or the wire ropes. So the existing risk control is work to provide with PPE. So the likelihood is 3, which is conceivable, which might be happen in the future. The severity is 3, which is serious. The level of risk is medium, which is 9. So the countermeasure that I recommended is administration control. Use 2 tagline to control the load, and use barricades and signage for the work area. Daily crane inspection. Crane must be provided with a valid PMA, which is I choose is for the hoisting machine. Workers must be trained for the installation of the equipment. Crane rigger and signalman need to be provided with a walkie-talkie to communicate or use any signal. So the second countermeasure is a personal protective equipment. Workers are required to use a personal safety harness, safety glove, and safety helmet properly. Next, Hira.
The second hazard is when for the work activity that cranes are used to lift and move the load to the side. Then the hazard is a fluid leakage makes the outrigger unable to function properly, which can cause damage of the crane. Crane become unstable, and it has a probability of collapse and damage to the driver, or maybe the driver might be injured, and then the fatality might be happen. The company is required to provide an additional cost. So the existing countermeasure for this hazard is the lifting plan is provided while they are working, and then the worker also wear and use a proper PPE. And then the likelihood for this hazard is 2, the severity is 4, and makes the risk 8, which is in the medium stage. So the recommended countermeasure to overcome this hazard is, first of all, through administration control, which is the crane must be daily inspected to make sure it is in a good condition for the whole operation. And then the competent person is responsible to ensure the cranes are safe to be used before proceeding any work at the construction site. For the personal protective equipment, before all the PPE is provided and gives to the worker, the PPE must be inspected properly to check the condition of the PPE. The PPE condition must be in a well condition when the worker use or wear them at the site. Next.
Third work activity, lifting heavy loads. The hazard is excessive load, which can cause defect. The load fall on the worker below, resulting in serious injury or death. The goods will be damaged. For the setting risk control, use a harder and unstretched wire rope on the crane. Likelihood is 2, severity is 4, risk is 8. Recommended countermeasure. Admission control. Ensure to place work according to the weight and that be recommended by the crane. All the equipment has been inspected according to the due date. Next.
So for the health hazard, so for the work activities, workers are lifting heavy weights manually at the open space. So the hazard for this is excessive heat, which can cause fatigue to the worker, faint, and heat stroke. So the existing risk control is workers are wearing a proper PPE for lifting work. So the likelihood is 3, severity is 2, which makes the risk is 6 in the medium. So for the recommended control measure for the hazard is engineering control using a forklifter, other mechanical lifting machines. As for the administration control, a body system that can be implanted for certain conditions. So next.
For the one of the work activity we chose for this is sitting in the crane or operator chair for long periods of time. So this is an ergonomic hazard, which is sitting in a place for sitting in a place for uncomfortable place for long periods of time. This might cause lower back pain. Likelihood is 2, severity is 2. So this gives us a low risk. For recommended control measures should be implemented is engineering control and administrative control. For engineering control, we suggested installing padding around the chair to make it more comfortable for the driver, for the operator to sit on. Well, administrative control is to make a proper work shift for each operator, so they can take turn shifting with each other, so they don't have to sit for long periods of time. So I pass on to the next presenter.
So for the last hazard for working at lifting operation is rigging the load. So the hazard exposed to rusty lifting equipment, and it can cause finger injury. And the existing control is worker are provided with personal protective equipment, and for likelihood is 2, severity is 1. So the risk is 2 in low stage. And for the recommended control measure is administration control and personal protective equipment. So for administration control is perform daily operator inspection of rigging equipment such as hook, wire ropes, and for PP. For the last lifting operation, what activity is rigging the load, and the hazard is exposed to rusty lifting equipment, and which cause finger injury. And the existing control is workers are exposed with personal protective equipment. The likelihood is 2, severity is 1, and the risk is 2, which is in low stage. And the recommended control measure is administration control, which is perform daily operator inspection of rigging equipment such as hook, wire ropes, and the personal protective equipment, such as use the right type of PPE, such as leather, glove for rigging load.
My name is Muhammad Rahman. I will present about recommendation. The control measure to the most critical safety hazard are administration control and PPE. There are 6 recommendations. First, use 2 tag line to control the load. Second, use barricade and signage for the work area. Third, daily crane inspection. Fourth, crane must be provided with a valid PMA. Fifth, workers must be trained for the installation of the equipment. Sixth, trained rigger and signalmen need to be provided with a walkie-talkie. For PPE, workers required to use personal safety harness, safety glove, and safety helmet properly. Next. The control measures to the most critical health hazard are engineering control and administration control. For engineering control, use forklift or other mechanical lifting machine. For machinerization control, a body system can be implemented for certain conditions. Next. Review of recommended program. First, plan the works that will be done in advance and ensure that adequate equipment is available for you. Second, use qualified or competent workers involving lifting operation or skills. Third, perform daily carry. Check train operators by checking the daily inspection list. Fourth, skilled signaling. Workers use proper communicate and signal. Fifth, radios or walkie-talkie are also used during crane operation to ensure continuous communicate. Next, benefit of implementing the control measure recommended. Controllable accident and incident make statistics less and give profit to company. The comfortable and health working environment. Employees can perform well their duties and contribute to increased productivity to the company. The reputation of company increase as the quality produced. Facilitate the company in hiring new employees due to the good corporate image. The organization image and reputation as a responsible employer will be acknowledged and bring in more investment. Next.
Okay, that's all. Thank you from us.